In this video, we're going to look at the future perfect tense. You're going to learn what it looks like, when to use it, and how to use it. And then we're going to carefully examine some sentence structure using the future perfect and also do some error correction. All of these components of the lesson will help you to increase your knowledge and confidence and get comfortable using the structure. Hey, it's Shauna here to give you some super English tips. If you're new here, make sure you click that subscribe button and check out the description box below for more information. So let's jump into it. It's always helpful to learn grammar within a context or a situation. This makes the grammar easy to understand and easy to use. So imagine that your friend Linda asks you to take care of her house for a few days while she goes on a vacation. She wants you to come over today at noon so she can show you how to work the alarm system and give you the keys. Hey Shauna, can you come over today at noon so I can show you how to use the alarm system and give you the keys? But you're really busy this afternoon, so you ask Linda if you can come at 8 o'clock tonight instead. No, that won't work. By 8 o'clock, I will have already left, she says. What does the future perfect tell us here? It tells us that Linda is going to leave for her trip sometime shortly after 12 o'clock noon, but before a certain point in the future, 8 o'clock tonight. She probably shouldn't have waited until the last minute to find a house sitter. The formula for the future perfect tense is pretty simple. Will have plus past participle. It doesn't matter if the subject of your sentence is I, you, he, she, we, they, or it. The formula doesn't change. So with the future perfect, we have a time concept that goes like this. Let's say this is a timeline, and this is now. By now, I mean it's the time of speaking. Now, we know with the future perfect, there's this concept of a deadline. That's the easiest way to think about the future perfect. So imagine that you're speaking now, and in your mind, remember you have 2 points in time. This one here is the deadline by which the action will have been completed. Now, the action that takes place is going to happen sometime between now and the deadline. So let's put that here. Now, the action that is happening here is going to be happening in grammar in the future perfect. I'm just going to write FP for the future perfect. The deadline, you're always going to see a by phrase. So this by phrase could be by the time plus subject plus verb. Now, in this case here, we're going to have the subject plus the verb, but this verb tense is going to be in the simple present. Okay, now this is going to make sense a little bit later on. We could also have a by phrase, and we just have a certain point in time. So for example, I could say by 8 o'clock or by dinner time. Okay, it could be just by plus a certain point in time. Now, in this case here, remember the future perfect is going to be formed with the subject plus will plus have plus the past participle. So let's go back to what Linda said. Do you remember what she said? She said, by 8 o'clock, I will have left. So when we take a look at the timeline, let's think about that. So remember, in the speaker's mind, they have 2 points in time in the future relative to now. The first one, back here, is the deadline. I'm going to call that the DL. And the second one is the actual event. So what are the 2 points in time here? By 8 o'clock, remember, the by phrase is going to show us the deadline. And then the future perfect, leaving, is here. So take a look and remember, at the time of speaking, the speaker has 2 points of time in their mind, the deadline and the future perfect event that's going to happen sometime between now and that final deadline. Let's take a look at a few examples and really break this grammar down. Number 1, she will have fallen asleep by the time I get home. So remember, we're looking for 2 points in time in the future. Now, what I would recommend when you're breaking this grammar down is, first of all, look for the deadline. Look for the by phrase. So here we see the word by, and this is by the time. So we have subject verb, subject plus verb, and you can see that that's the simple present tense. Now, we also have this construction. Will plus have plus the past participle. So we can know that in the speaker's mind, remember that timeline, we have this event and this event. The by phrase is by the time I get home, and sometime between now and then, this is going to have taken place. Okay, let's take a look at number 2. Class will have started by the time we arrive. Same thing. Here's the by phrase, by the time, simple present, we arrive. Now notice it does not say we will arrive. Even though we're talking about something that's happening in the future, we use the simple present in this construction. So by the time we arrive, not future tense, simple present. Class will have started. So here is the future perfect construction. Will have plus the past participle. So we know that in the speaker's mind, they're thinking, okay, by the time we get there, that's the latest time, class will have already started between now and then, which means we're going to be late. Okay, let's take a look at number 3. By the time you get there, they will have left. Now, what's different about this? The difference is the by phrase is here at the beginning. And we can do this because by the time is considered a subordinating conjunction. That means we can use it in complex sentences. So with that construction, we can put it here at the beginning of the sentence, or we can have it in the middle. But after the first clause, there will be a comma right here. Okay, so by the time you get there, so here we go with the by phrase plus the simple present, comma, they will have left. All right, there we go. That's the future perfect, will have left. All right, so remember, with that timeline, the deadline is this. By the time you get there, this is now, and sometime in between there, they will have left. Got it? Let's take a look at these other future perfect examples. Now, these are a little bit different. Can you spot the difference here? That's right. The by phrase does not have a subject plus a verb following it. It just has a time. So number 1, I will have finished my work by dinner time. So remember, by is the deadline and dinner time. This is just a point in time. It could be 5 o'clock. It could be 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. Okay? There's no subject verb here and we don't need it, but we know that that's the final deadline. So here we go with the future perfect, will have plus past participle. So sometime between now and dinner time, I will have finished my work. Now, I don't know exactly what time I'm going to be finished my work, and that's the beauty of the future perfect. It's happening somewhere along that scale of time. Number 2, they will have built the bridge by next summer. So by next summer is the deadline. It doesn't say by August the 15th or by July the 30th, but it just says by next summer. So here, they will have built the bridge. That building and that completion is going to be finalized sometime by next summer. Now, in number 3, this is also a little bit different. We have the by phrase right over here at the very beginning of the sentence, which is fun. So by 2050, she will have graduated. So sometime between now and then, we don't know exactly what year, but she will have graduated by this deadline. All right, let's take a look and see if we can find some mistakes. One of the best ways to learn grammar is through error correction. So let's take a look at these sentences and find the mistakes. Of all of these sentences here, only one of them is correct. Can you find out which one? Let's break it down. Number 1, I will have complete my work by the deadline. It looks pretty good. However, it is missing something. If you know what it's missing, put it in the comments below. I want to know. All right, let's take a look. I will have complete my work by the deadline. So this is fine, by the deadline. Now this is interesting because the deadline is the deadline. I will have complete. We're missing one letter here. Now you might think, oh, it's only one letter. It's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. We need the past participle. So I will have completed my work by the deadline. So number 1, not correct, but now it is. Number 2, they will build the building by next year. The by phrase looks fine. Again, they will build. Remember, we need one more thing in here. What is it? That's right, have. Now with the future perfect, we never use has. It's always will, have, past participle, all the time. Number 3, they have studied for 5 years. By the time I will have graduated. Ooh. Okay, so remember, by the time, when we use this phrase, we always follow it by the simple present. So over here, by the time we don't need will, we don't need have, and we don't need this past participle. So they have studied, maybe there's something wrong here still, for 5 years, by the time I graduate. Now, remember, the deadline is by the time I graduate. What's happening between now and that deadline is going to be in the future perfect. So they have studied. This is incorrect. They will have studied for 5 years by the time I graduate. Perfect. Now it's okay. So number 2 also had a mistake. Number 3, let's take a look at number 4. By the time everyone gets here, we will have prepared all the food. So over here, we've got the by phrase, by the time everyone gets here. This is simple present and it is correct. So we know that that's the deadline. Finally, we will have prepared. Everything looks great here. So number 4 is correct. I hope you understand more about the future perfect. If you got value from this video, hit those like and subscribe buttons. And if you have comments or questions about anything English, please share them in the comments below. If your goal is to build more confidence, knowledge, and motivation, check out these videos as well. See you sometime in the future.